Welcome to The Change Agent, the podcast that aims to help you become a more effective leader, a more effective project manager, and a high impact contributor to your organization. Now, each episode gives us actionable strategies and perspectives in leadership, project management, and team building so that you and your team can deliver real value, exceed expectations, and rise above the rest. Follow the show as every week I try to release new content, and today we've got something very special for you. I hope you're looking forward to today's episode, and if so, get ready, let's go. Hey, welcome back to The Change Agent. My name is Eric, and today we're doing our very first video podcast. We're also going to still be available on the audio platform, one of your choosing. It's our very first video interview that we're doing here on the show. So we're really happy about that being the first of many to go. And we're also extremely happy to have as our first interviewee on the show, Tonya. Now, Tonya is going to be is responsible for all the future successes that we've got in the show in both terms of video and guests being on the show to talk about their experiences in management, because obviously we're learning a lot in this first video interview. Again, the audio for this will still be available on your favorite podcast platform, so don't forget to join us there. But you can also find this video live on YouTube at The Change Agent, so don't forget that. Now, with Tonya, we're going to be diving into her experiences in management, leadership, and also her personal growth. Now, she brings a fascinating perspective, not only as a manager, but as someone who's lived and worked across borders. She's learned to adapt and lead in different environments. And so we're going to talk a little bit about her journey, what shaped her as a leader, and the lessons that she's been trying to carry forward and get as she's been evolving her professional life in various different places. So let's jump right in and start talking. So welcome, Tonya, to the show.
Hi, Eric. Hi, everyone. I'm really pleased to be here today. And it is my first experience to have a podcast, to make a podcast. And this is my first big interview when I am talking in English. So it will be a disclaimer from my side that 3 years ago I didn't speak in English at all. And during all this time I was studying and I think I'm progressing a lot. So it's huge responsibility for me to be the first guest and to do it in English. And I am very happy to be here.
Well, thank you for being here again. And again, it's a major challenge, right? To take on an interview, much less one that's going to be out to the masses in a language that's not native. And your native language is?
My native language is Ukrainian. So originally I'm Ukrainian, now living in Brussels. So I was living here in Belgium 3.5 years ago when the war started. So yeah. And before, I cannot say that I really speak English. The primary reason why, because I didn't need. So I never worked in multicultural environment. So I had times I had some English courses, but it was, just to support the level that I had. But of course, it is not the same level that I have now because I work in this language. It is my daily working language.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think if anybody can learn anything, both in terms of language and your professional life, like in terms of what you do for a living, immersion is probably one of the best ways. It's kind of a fight or flight or thrown right into the fire kind of thing.
For sure.
Yeah. So, and thank you so much for the bit on the background. Can you kind of give us a little bit about your background in a professional sense, and then maybe how that path led you over into the management world?
So, if you are talking about my background, I left my home city when I was 15, and then I started my working journey in a call center. Then 5 years after, I was working with the Ukrainian Prime Minister, and then 5 years later, I started my own business, and I was running it till 2024, just before the war started. And then now I'm working in an international NGO. We support youth all over the world in career readiness, financial literacy, and job readiness. So I'm working as a project manager now in educational department. So I'm leading all the projects that we have from impact side.
What a journey, right? It's not only is it just a change of surroundings, but it's also a change of responsibilities and also your stakeholders. Also the culture, right? The culture is all different. We'll talk more about that in just a few minutes when we get into a little bit more into the interview. One of the questions I had was like, did you have anybody that influenced you prior, I think, to this point, or mentors that kind of, hey, this is something you ought to do because you're fitting into it naturally, or is it something that you didn't have that maybe you sought it out on your own?
Yeah. So I couldn't say that I had a real mentor. And I know now, with all the experience that I have now, that it is very important to have. However, I had always had my inner voice, which pushed me forward. Like someone can say it curiosity, someone can say it's just trying to find a new, better life. But I always had this fire inside that never stopped.
Mm.
However, if you're talking about mentors, I would say I always had a role model. Maybe not a real mentor who support you in a daily basis, but a role model throughout my life. So the person who changed her life dramatically in her early 20s moved to a new country without knowing the language, built an amazing family, built her career from scratch. And this person is my sister. So she's my role model. And when I think that, okay, it's difficult time, I always have this support. She's always there and she's always there for me.
Yeah, it makes a big difference, I think, when you are taking on challenging adventures or roles that you have this support behind you, that you know that, hey, regardless of how hard this could be or how bad it is,
Yeah,
I've got
exactly.
somebody or I've got something that I can lean on when I need help,
Yeah. But in my current position as we provide education provider, we have a lot of programs for youth for them to find a job and to support them in this journey. And I see the huge difference when students don't have mentor and when they have.
Mm.
The person who is always there, who is ready to share her experience or his experience, who is ready to be a mentor, but and a friend. It's like together at the same time, and like adult friend. I think it's a very nice approach. And we have an amazing program which called Job Shadow Day, when students or youth 15, 16 years old can go to the real workplace and they can shadow the real people, shadow and to check and to discover what they do and what they want to do. And from this experience, these people who shared, then they becomes a mentor to this youth.
That's amazing. It's one example after another of, there are often, I think, in my opinion, there are times when individuals are moving into management roles because they deserve it, or they got the opportunity, or they just happen to outperform someone in an interview, but they didn't have the support. And then you have others who maybe reluctantly got into a position like that, had support. And obviously, when you have mentorship and you have support, myself included, I can say the same thing about my career, that I had the best people around me when I was forming that made me what I am today. And that there are those that I can compare to who didn't have the same type of people, and where they are today is different than where I am. And so, but it's a really good story about how it forms a foundation, and that really kind of sets the stage But your story even takes in a more interesting turn when you made the big move over into Brussels. So, to talk a little bit about that, can you discuss a little bit about how moving countries from Ukraine over into Belgium impacted your perspective on management? And maybe there was no impact. Maybe you didn't notice anything, but I would bet there's something in the culture or something in that you may have picked up on. Is there some kind of impact that you had when you moved over into Belgium?
Yeah. It is a difficult experience to talk about still years after. Um, Now, when I'm thinking back, I am just admire myself for everything that was done. Because moving from one country to another with two kids in the car, it's just insane. So you lost your life and you need to build new one. However, with all experience that you have already, that I had already, I built a new chapter. So I would say that I was moving forward by necessity. So I didn't think about yesterday or tomorrow. I had just now.
Yeah.
And this approach, I think, built myself even stronger. And all resilience is not going out. It's cemented me. And I think whenever life holds for me in the future, I can manage it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the reality of what's happening in Ukraine, of course, is near and dear to many people's hearts, and mine included. And it's a saddened thought every time it comes across. It's really good, though, that you and practically every Ukrainian and any person who's been in that country after that invasion has taken something to make them stronger, right? So they say, "What doesn't kill me makes me stronger." Could be theoretically, absolutely applied here.
Yeah.
And in terms of management, did you find there was any cultural differences, or did you have a culture shock in the management team when you arrived in your new workplace?
100%. And it's not only about my team, it is about new country itself. Because when I was at the point when I was thinking where to go, which country do I need to go and build my new life, I was thinking about Belgium, like a multinational environment, and I thought it is something positive that I will be there, like with many other expats and refugees. But in reality, it was a shock
Mm.
because I didn't expect to have three national languages in a country. When we arrived here and everyone was speaking French, Dutch, or German, I was like, it's interesting what I'm doing here. So it was the first shock and it is still there. So not so affecting me now, but from the beginning it was huge one. Also, if you're talking about work environment, uh, if you're talking about Belgium team, 100% of the team are expats.
Mm.
So no one is from Belgium. So we have people from North Macedonia, from Brazil, Romania, Ukraine, Spain. And can you imagine to work in this environment? It was a shock as well. So for me, didn't speak really in English to understand what's going on, to understand what is my role here. And it was very challenging. However, years after, I can see how my mindset changed. For example, we like last week we sent an email to our Ukrainian team that they won the competition and the team was selected to go to Brussels and represent the country. And the email back that we received, it was, yes, we will come.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I feel this Ukrainian direct, approach when we are not, oh, thank you, we are so
Yeah.
appreciate, we are grateful, but yes, we will be there. So now, for me, it is not funny, but I know why exactly we have it and why it is coming from. Because Ukrainians are really direct. like, yes, no, we will do, we will not. So it's really not about dancing around. It's about what we need to do.
Yeah.
And we will do. And if you're talking about Spanish people, that they, or Italian, yeah, when you need to talk, to ask about friends, family, something else, and then maybe we will go to the point. So from the beginning, it was really difficult for me to navigate, but now I feel that I'm more relaxed, and I really like this environment.
You made a lot of really good points, and I think that what people need to remember is that experiences that are all going to be unique, right? The things that we go through, they're going to shape us into different types of leaders. I've talked about that before on many of the different podcasts about how the environment shapes us and what we do with that. And I'm really curious. Now, you touched on something that I hadn't planned on really kind of going over, but it's somewhat aligned with what we talked about before. Um, so as you moved over and you've got this knowledge of how the culture in Ukraine is, you've got the idea of how they are direct, and then you move into a place where it's mingled, right, with different types of people. They're not as direct. They may be as direct as, just
Yeah.
whoever. That kind of drives this idea that you have to be a bit more empathetic in the way that you lead, because you have to put yourself into other people's shoes. And did you find that this experience that you've gotten has given you more empathy when you lead, or do you think it's less, and why?
It's a great question. I would say I was always empathetic, so I feel people very good. If something is wrong, I will feel it immediately. However, I know for sure that all the people around have their own fight inside. We never knows what is this about. Is this about family, about job, about money, about management? And knowing this, I think I became more empathetic, but exactly because of my experience.
I have to say I might be a little bit jealous. I think because I'm empathetic by nature, by the way I was raised, and I think a lot of leadership today doesn't have that empathy that we have. There are some, of course. I'm lucky that I've had most of mine were empathetic. But it's clear that those experiences that you've had have really shaped out how you lead today. All right. For everything from when you were 15 all the way up to now. But leadership is a lot also about how we stand apart in different environments. And so
Yeah.
whether it's a challenging environment, whether it's not challenging, but just kind of difficult, or whether it's just a smooth sailing environment, leadership is just as much about how we stand out than how we come together. And so I want to kind of segue over into a differentiation conversation. So those experiences, they've obviously created new things that you've had to react to, things you've had to adjust to, and things that have also allowed you to bring in those experiences you've already had. With that said, considering the conglomerate of people, the differences, all these different people from all these different corners of the world, how did you differentiate yourself from your peers in that new role?
As I mentioned before, 100% of my Belgian colleagues are expats. So they came with a really different background, and all of us should navigate somehow together and to be successful. So I think at some point we are all the same, but on another, all of us are different. What I think I can mention about differentiation, it's about really hard working. So it was always like this. I cannot sit and wait for new task to receive. I will go and I will ask about new task. I will go and ask about new project, about new responsibilities. And I am really purpose driven. When I have something, I will be working very hard to achieve this. So if we are talking about my role here in this organization, I was hired for only for 4 months to build a new platform for Ukrainian kids. But then, like 2 months after, I realized, okay, I can do more. So I asked about more responsibilities. So I received projects which I didn't have before. And then 1 year after, I was like, okay, it's good, but I can do more and I want to do more. So, and now 3.5 years after, I received a management position in a role which wasn't existent at all at the organizational level. So I think my proactiveness, hard work, and purpose driven bring me to this place.
Mhm. There's a lot to be said with initiative, right? There are oftentimes, um, I think the viewers and the listeners can all agree as well as we can that there are too many managers, I think, that just do the amount that they need to get done. Now, that for everyone that doesn't do the initiative part, they just do what they have to do to get paid and lead the project and keep it from falling all to pieces. That there are those that are like you, where they go out and they look for ways to make a difference, even if it wasn't necessarily in the initial scope of what they were going to be doing. Hey, you're going to be building a platform for these groups of people, and it's really a narrow niche focus, and then you explore out of that. You become successful. You start earning that trust, and that's kind of these two big points I pull from that. Is that the way that you've been able to differentiate yourself was because of that purpose-driven ideal, and that's created this ability for you to build credibility really quickly with your team and with the leadership group. And this allowed you to earn trust across different teams and divisions within the company and even its stakeholders, including those customers and those across the world. I've been a part of some groups where they worked with kids in Africa and Europe, and it was quite interesting to see just how hard it could be to do that, right? And so good pat on the back for being able to really knock that out of the park. And I think that's what really makes you successful, right? Is the purpose-driven part, is the ability to see what you need to do and then go out and do those things, and bringing everyone together. I think that's really, really cool.
Yeah. But I cannot say that it was a purpose from the beginning when I joined the organization. So at the first moment, I just needed to survive. And then with the time going through, I was like, okay, I can do more. I can do more. But again, from the beginning, it wasn't like I have a purpose to be a manager or have a purpose to be a CEO.
Uh-huh.
It is not like this. So maybe when you start something new, you don't have this like big purpose, or you don't have these big plans actually. So that's why with the time, maybe you will find what will move you forward.
Yeah. That's a really good point. As you're talking, it's kind of reminded me of something in my head that I have gone through recently. I've held jobs both in the military, U.S. military, and outside of that, where I was a doer. Right. I talk about in my podcast that there's a change from the doer to the leader, and I was a doer, and doers are important. Right. Nothing works without them. I never had this aspiration to be a super manager or to be a project manager. In fact, I don't think I really ever cared about what that was. Although, strangely enough, I cared about who led me. And so I moved into bigger roles within larger companies after I got done with the military. And then I became a senior individual. And I always told myself that I would never sacrifice people that I love or my family, time with them to the best of my ability. There's some time you have to sacrifice to do your work, but I never was one of those people who just like sacrificed everything for the career. And then I became successful. I led successful teams, hundreds of millions of dollars in a project. And then I went backwards, if I guess you could say, where I went into a smaller, less important role. I was not a manager. I was not a project manager. And I found that those were as satisfying as the other ones. And so I totally get how the idea of, you weren't out looking for it. It just kind of happened. And I think what the point I'm really trying to make is that oftentimes when people get to that point where they're successful, and I know people that are like this, they will go from saying, I won't sacrifice anything for that until they get there, right? And then they become really successful, and then they sacrifice everything to keep up with that. And I think that's a interesting point. I'm not sure exactly where I was going with that, but that's where we'll keep it. So
Yeah, but while you were talking, I was thinking that it is very ex-USSR approach, like to move, to reach, to sacrifice everything to be successful here. And when I moved to Brussels, um, it was a cold shower for me to acknowledge that not everyone do the same. So people can work from 9 to 5, and that's all. No one is expecting you will be working after 5, or you will be picking up the phone or
mhm.
answer your emails. So it is your decision to do this if you want. So it was my decision from the beginning because I needed to survive. So I worked really more hours. But then, like 1 year after, 2 years after, I understood that no one is expecting I will be doing this. And for me, it was a relief that I can have a balance. I can have my working life, but at the same level, I can spend time with my family, with my daughter. I can go out and I can find new friends here, and I can build a life, not only to be in this emergency mode.
You're totally on point. The next 2 points that I was gonna lead into, you've kinda jumped right into that, and I do appreciate it because it keeps me on track. So as you've moved into Brussels, you're settling it in, you've gotten a new project. One of these questions are about obstacles, and you've kind of touched on some of those before. But what kind of obstacles did you find, including language, when fitting into that organization? How did you overcome that as you moved forward?
I think it would be easier to say where I didn't have any challenges in which sphere of my life because it was everywhere. Of course, the language is the most complex and the most difficult one.
Yeah.
As I mentioned before, not only because of English that I didn't speak on, but because of French and Dutch and German and all other languages that are here in Belgium. Of course, it is not affecting me anymore like it was from the beginning, but I don't speak French. So I cannot go to the hospital and talk to people. I cannot go to school and talk with my daughter's teacher. Um, so it is still difficult to navigate, but I am doing my best. So the languages, yes, I can agree that the language is the first. And the second, because I changed dramatically from what I did before to a new role. So before I was running my own business. So I had all responsibilities in this world that can be.
Mhm.
I should pay salary. I should find customers. I need to think about, I don't know, rent, how to pay, if we will survive next month. So everything was on me. And when I joined an organization, it was a shock because we switched from mm, from myself
Mhm.
to the government. So we depend on the government, on the political situation, on the donors. So it's not only my responsibility to run the organization. We have a team, we have level team, we have board. So it is their responsibility. So for me, this change, this switch was very difficult, even if the level of stress was much less. But I enjoyed and I really like my business, I was running it with my team. Just before the war started, I had 15 people in my team. So you can imagine like the level of responsibility and pressure, but also enjoyment and everything that I did. It was like me driven
Yeah.
because from my small idea, I created this nice business.
When you as you were moving through, did you find, when you were trying to I know you said that you could say that there were no challenges, but it's just scary. If that's the only thing we're gonna use to be in a new place, with a new group of people with in a language that's challenging to learn and much less have 3 of them to choose from, at some point you had to sacrifice, and you've talked about this before, just for a brief moment, sacrificing personal time with your family to get on par with being in Belgium, to choosing to getting the language down, to understanding how the team works. So there's to me the amount of things that you had to process in parallel, language, finding a job, doing the job, learning to integrate with the team, getting trust with the leadership, making friends, taking care of your family, finding places to get healthcare, school, where are you going to eat, where are you going to live, how's all that going to work? There are just so many things I can only imagine that you have had to go through. Can you talk just a bit about those and how you managed that specific, your personal time against your work time?
Um, I would say that at some point, I didn't have any personal time because I had my own responsibility to survive and to settle the life for my children. So at this point, I was not thinking, how come did I receive this situation, or how come is it happened with me? I had only one purpose, to survive and to have a life for my kids. So at this point, you don't think about going out or to go and to do some exercises or to spend time with your colleagues after the working hours. You just switch to this emergency mode. And for many years, I did this. But now I can say that I feel much better and I can even start thinking about my personal life, about this balance, about doing something for myself, not only for my family and work.
Yeah. Wow. I tell you, to be able to recognize all that and to continue to stick to it and to be successful says a lot about that. And I think that those sacrifices, not specifically these that you've gone through, but just the idea of general in terms of sacrifices and challenges, I think many listeners can relate to that in some way. They can say, "Well, I have challenges that are uh, of this nature. I have challenges of that nature. I've got this obstacle that I'm trying to achieve, and I'm still going to find ways to navigate and make sure that everything's taken care of." I think we've all been through something that challenges us. Obviously, you've got, in my opinion, a bit more than most. That had to make some impact, even on a short, acute term. Um, it's just stressful, and I applaud you for being successful into that. Now, what I want to shift into quickly is what leadership looks like now that you're actually in the manager's seat. Obviously, your story does not paint the picture that you walked right in and then just on a Monday and on Wednesday you were the manager. You had to work your way into that, as we talked about before, by building that. Um, hey, I'm reliable. I'm available, and you're building trust with the team, both in those around you, those below you, but those above you as well. Is the reality of management, now that you've been appointed in management role of sorts, is it what you expected as a manager or not?
Great question. First of all, I never seek for a manager position because I was already a manager. I was a business owner, so I know what is this about.
Mhm.
So that's why it was never a purpose for me to be a manager at this organization and to have, I don't know, more responsibilities. It was very natural from the beginning. As I mentioned, that I started with something small and then I asked and I requested more and more. So I think this, my proactive position and can-do approach leads me throughout the years. So that's why I didn't search for this, but it was very natural. But what is great that I receive huge support from my management, and they saw that I am capable, I am reliable, I can do more, I want to do more, and even just months ago, I had a call with my CEO, and it was really nice because he told like we see how you are progressing during the years. It's not about management, but first of all about the knowledge because when I joined, I knew nothing about NGO, how it operates, who is responsible for what, how we navigate with the donors. And it was a really nice moment for me to internalize everything that was done. And from management perspective, the same. So I see opportunities for myself for the future as well. And I see a support. I have the support, not only from my line manager, but from C-level as well.
The thing that you've got in there that many people, I bet, could say they don't is that support from management. I mean, it's just endlessly this laundry list of people that I know who have said, my manager does not understand, my manager does not support, my manager does not whatever. And there are tons of stories where people will say the fastest way to get rid of the good people is to let a bad manager tolerate the bad people. And so it's good. You've got. I don't want to use the word lucky. Let's use
something else, because for sure, I can say that I am lucky, but all my luck is coming from the experience, from the background, from everything that was done before. So lucky, it's a nice word, but as you mentioned, that it is not about myself, but it just what was done before.
Yeah. So now that you're in the role, you've gotten kind of settled in. You're doing things. I think in cases, speaking from experience and from other people, when they, and I know someone who's going through this right now, when they are not a manager or they're a low level manager, I don't want to. They're a manager of a task, like a few people. They don't get a chance to really make big influences around them in terms of the way the project management office works, the way that the senior executives or leaders of the business strategize on what the business is going to do and all that good stuff. They are focused on the in the trenches, right? They're making things happen. And so they don't get a whole lot of chance to change the team. Have you experienced the freedom to change what we call the climate of the team that you lead? Like, how do you influence the way people feel about the work that they do, the office, and more importantly, the leadership above you overall? Have you had the chance to get that? Do you have the freedom to do that?
Yeah. I would say that I joined the organization that operates more than 100 years already on the market.
Mhm.
So, of course, everything is settled up already before me. C-level board members, so they have worked out everything in a specific way. And on one hand, it is really difficult to change something because it's stability, it works, so we don't need to change. But on another hand, I can say that I'm hurt, and when I propose something to the team, even for my level team or to the management, I not always, of course, not just like 100%, but my management is hearing me and they allow me to change what I want and what I can't change.
Mhm.
For example, I don't know, last time what we had with a digital tool that we can work on it, and I propose how we can improve it, how we can manage it for the future, how we can work like all together, not only our department. And I was hurt. And now we are trying to find a solution how we can implement this for the future for all of us and to work efficiently and faster. So we'll see how it will work, but I already have these examples when I'm allowed to change what I think we can do. We can change.
Yeah, that's really good. I think if people have gone into situations in which they know there are no ways to change anything, leadership in that perspective will die very quickly. I don't think people want to do anything where you can't evolve, right?
Yeah.
And that kind of goes right into another point that I want to make is that leadership is not just about what you expect to happen. It's about how your goals evolve along the way. And those goals could be how you think you want to make a difference. Um, but in talking in terms of goals itself and lessons, did you have some initial goals when you first started at the company? Like, obviously, you said, I want to be successful and I want to be able to make a difference and I want to do these things. But how did your initial goals work out? And have they changed at all now that you've achieved the management roles? Do you keep some of the goals that you've had and just evolve them into a management function? Or, what about your goals as you've moved along in this particular role?
Maybe I will repeat myself that from the beginning I didn't have any goals. So the main goal, like goals in our way of thinking, the main goal was survive and to have a stable life for my family. And then with the time, I understood, okay, now we have a bit more stable life, so I can think about something more. But the management position was never a dream and was never a goal. Um,
Yeah.
it is not my way of thinking. I was always purpose driven. When I decided to start my own business, I was never thinking about managing people or earning money. So it's good to have, but I want to do something more. I want to have impact. I want to, in this case, now in this organization, to change lives and to have a real impact on people's lives. So it is nothing to do with the management position itself, but it is with a bigger goals that we have on organizational level, and I am very aligned with them. When I came to Brussels and I started looking for a job,
No.
I have only one thing in my mind, to find a job related to Ukrainians, because the war just started. It was like few months, like from February till March. It was only 1 month, and I was trying to find a way how I can support my nation. And on LinkedIn, I was searching even with the word Ukrainians
Mhm.
to somehow find organization who already supports Ukrainians. And so it was the main reason why I joined the organization, because I felt at that moment that it is my way, it is my contribution to my nation. So it was a goal from the beginning: survive my family survival and to support Ukrainians how I can do it from where I am.
Mhm. Yeah, excellent response. I think, how about in terms of measurement of success? Because I think by asking you this question, I'll make a good statement out of it. The way that we measure success obviously differs between the role we're in and the things we're doing, and the way you measured your success, and we'll just call it success, when you first arrived in Brussels, may be different to how you measure success now. What changes have you seen in how you measure success? I mean, obviously, it's survivability is accomplished. We can say that's accomplished, and
Yeah,
now what are your terms of how you want to measure success?
I would say it is to have time for things that I love to do. I adore cycling. I adore music. I play piano, so I really want to continue this. I want to continue singing because I did it before. So for me, it would be my very strange, in a normal practical life success, but it would be a sign that life is going back to normal and I can do something more.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I think that's a perfect idea of that. There are the idea of success amongst managers changes
Yeah.
all the time, not just within each individual, but with the organization. They also change how success looks. Um, and I think oftentimes when people are managing, they get into a specific rhythm, if you will. I just did a podcast on getting the rhythm. That also drives what success looks like. For me, I felt like my success was never about money. It was never about position. So we're very common in that regard. I got lucky to have a good position, and I got lucky to make good money. But for me, I'm as happy as a lark if I had just what I needed to be able to survive, and I was able to not be stressed, and I was able to do what I wanted and what I love to do. I think that's more important than anything else. If you don't like what you're doing, don't do it. But there are many people who don't follow that, and
Yeah,
I've
exactly.
I've sacrificed jobs for that very reason. When I met my wife, she went to Nebraska, and I was working in Virginia, and I had a very high paying job, and I left for a very large pay cut because I wanted to be with her, and there was nothing that was going to stop me from doing it. And my boss at the time said, "There's no way you're leaving," and I was like, "We'll see about that." Um, but and it worked out, and look at us now. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, so Tonya, this has been a really really valuable conversation,
Yeah.
not just in the on your personal view of management and how you've overcome different challenges, but it's about your resilience, about your adaptation, about your growth. And those are real key characteristics, I think, that all managers in some form need to make sure they're buckling up and they're really trying to get those things done, right? People who manage and they're smart and they're good and they've got a big background may not really understand what resilience is because they don't have to face anything alone or unknown. They've got a whole entire team to help them through these things. Adaptation, they don't have to do it by themselves. Growing, they've got people telling them, or they've got the good old boy club where somebody just gives them jobs because of whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. So I totally agree with you. In many cases, they have this, or they had these lessons, and they learned from them. So that's why they became a better manager. However, it's not always the case, and as you mentioned, someone can be promoted just to be promoted, and then they cannot take the responsibilities, they cannot grow, they cannot grow the team. So I saw these examples, and I saw huge turnover in the team because of this position, because of lack of good management, and they just lose people for nothing. And it is very pity when really strong managers are leaving the organization because of the poor management level.
Yeah, that happens a lot, more often than it probably should. Many people will say that they've seen that before. I've seen it. And it's unfortunate that I think people just don't understand. When they become managers, they have a much larger influence. They have a tangible influence, the ones that you can see, like the money on the chart.
Yeah.
And they have an intangible influence. And this would be what people are saying about them when they're not in the same room as them. And that's the intangible influence. If I obviously go and sit by the coffee machine and I'm talking to someone at my level or around me that, hey, the manager is not very good. And, I wish I had that an opportunity to help manage that manager. Obviously, if I get tired of that, I'll leave. And it's unfortunate that manager may or may not see that. And there have been times where I've corrected managers or I've tried to what they call manage the manager, right? Sometimes it's worked out and it was very scary when I did it, but sometimes it didn't. And, it is whatever. So, so that really sounds like to me, some of the words you were just saying, that would be really good advice to give to someone who's stepping into their first management role, especially if they're navigating new environments, whether that's a company or culture or, for your matter, even a new country. Do you want to add anything onto that or any advice that you'd give someone who's stepping into their first management role?
If you're talking about advice, I wouldn't say it's really direct advice to a new manager, but it is advice for everyone. Our listeners, maybe they're from different countries. So my advice would be to study languages.
Mm-hmm.
And studying languages, it doesn't mean even English. You can study French, Spanish, Dutch, whenever you want. But when you study a language, you better understand your peers, your colleagues. So when you, searching for meaning of some word, it's immediately switch in your head. Okay, I have this word, I know this, and it's better understanding of the situation. I have a Lithuanian friend, not colleague, and once we cycled together, and then we stayed nearby the tree, and we forgot the name of this tree in English, and she was, but in Lithuanian it will be lipe, and so in Ukrainian it is liping. So we could understand each other, not in English, but in our own languages, without, knowing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a very funny moment because for me it was, it's so great that we can find this common sense and common language. So I would say my first advice would be to study languages. I know it's very silly, it's very easy to say it, but it is very difficult in practice. Really to study, not just open a book but try to improve every day. I have this experience with English. I started from scratch, from zero when I came here, and now I can talk to you in English. Maybe not the best way, maybe not 100% as I wish, but still we can have this conversation. But I was studying every day during the years, and now, till now, I have my lessons twice a week, every week.
Yeah.
Nothing will change it for the coming future. I will continue because I want to progress. And then I will continue with French. And then I have already plans to study Dutch. So I have huge plans about my languages. And I think it's very nice.
So if there's one thing that the viewers and the listeners of the show can get out of this conversation today, it's you are the practical definition of resilience and commitment. And so hats off again to you for being successful and for joining me today. It's been an honor to have you on here. I'm glad, and we'll have. There are many times during this conversation today where I saw the opportunity for me to run off in different directions on a different conversation, which says, hey, we've got more time and more things to talk about. So in the future, love to have you back if you're available, and we'll have a different conversation about different things.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure people will get good things out of this as they've done on this one.
Thank you very much. It was a real pleasure to have this conversation today. And please subscribe to this amazing channel. Thumbs up, not to lose for the future, and new podcasts that Eric for sure will run.
Yeah. Thank you so much. If you've enjoyed this conversation, please don't forget to subscribe to The Change Agent. It's on YouTube. You'll also find us on podcast platforms all across the ecosystem. So if you've got one of your favorites, you'll find us there. But definitely on the typicals. Suspects. And we're going to always be trying to find new ways to explore new stories and strategies on leadership and management. So until next time, make sure that you all keep learning, you keep leading, and you keep exceeding, because if anyone shows you differently, then they're not helping you, right? So obviously, Tonya, thank you again. Congratulations on a successful 3 years. And we hope that the tragedy in Ukraine ends quickly. With a Ukrainian victory. We know it will. And as they say, Slava Ukraina.
Героям слава.
And until next time.
See you next time.
We'll see you guys later.
Bye.